Another week under lockdown, but people are generally reacting so well. Even here in London, a massive and thriving city of total commerce, where everyone is usually on the move almost all of the time. As someone considered a key worker, I am allowed to drive to work, and I'm proud to say almost everywhere I look, people are obeying the rules. It is an incredible feat for a country and an economy, one of the biggest in the world, to go from a sprint to a standstill in the space of a few weeks. The full financial fallout from that, though, will only become clear in the next few years. And don't make any mistake, there will be a very heavy bump. The richer countries will survive and will in time be able to pay their debts, but there will be a price to pay politically and socially. Across the Channel, France is to be locked down until the 11th of May, and possibly longer. President Macron's Europeanism and globalism seems suddenly to have been jettisoned. When he spoke recently, there was mere lip service paid to continental solidarity, a recognition that his beloved EU has been essentially useless in this crisis. He is talking now all about national self-dependence. Trade groups and economic unions are feeling an instant pressure around the world, and that includes the European Union. In his Easter message, Pope Francis, who leads over 1 billion Catholics, described the virus as an epochal challenge that he said will affect the future of the EU, and he called for Europeans to unify. But there's little sign of that happening. And the stark reality for Brussels is that it faces a defining moment for a union divided by wealth and by the differing responses to the threat. The very future of Europe, as the Pope said, is hanging in the balance. The spread of the virus is exposing once again the fault lines that Schengen tried to make invisible. The borders are going up again, and it's every country for itself. Angela Merkel, Germany's Chancellor, calls it the biggest test the EU has ever faced. But I don't know if she was talking about health or money. At one point, the 19 finance ministers from the Eurozone countries spent 16 hours trying to work out how to share the economic burden of COVID-19. They couldn't agree on what collective help, if any, they wished to offer to the countries most affected by the virus, Spain and Italy. They couldn't, in fact, agree on almost anything. Instead, the meeting broke up acrimoniously, with Italy, Spain and France demanding that the European Central Bank issue so-called corona bonds to help finance economic recovery, while Germany, the Netherlands and others resisted. The EU is fracturing between a group of giving countries in the north and less successful receiving countries in the south. The Dutch finance minister is the loudest voice in a group of northern Eurozone countries who don't want to sign their government's post-pandemic debt up with countries in the south. The Portuguese Prime Minister, Antonio Costa, spoke of what he called disgusting and petty comments by the Dutch, while the Spanish Foreign Minister, Arantxa González, wondered whether the Dutch understood that a first-class cabin wouldn't protect you when the whole ship sinks. So we see the EU split along the same fault lines as they were in the 2008-2009 financial crash. And some of Europe's most scathing critics have even been the pro-Europeans. Nicole Nisato, the vice president of the arch-federalist Jacques Delors Institute think tank, said the EU's lack of preparations, its powerlessness, its timidity are staggering. The first instinct was to close borders, hoard equipment, and assemble national responses. The euro, of course, is a large part of the problem in that it created a huge unsustainable boom in southern countries who couldn't then devalue their currencies when the crash came. The strains have become more and more acute, of course, with the loss of the EU's second largest net contributor nation, the UK. The burden of propping up the south is falling much more heavily on countries like the Netherlands, and they are resisting. President Macron of France even warned the Eurozone and the European idea would collapse unless member states showed each other more solidarity in the face of a pandemic that's now killed more than 22,000 in Italy alone. He is warning that if Europe doesn't come together, the price of failure will be that the populists will win today, tomorrow, the day after, in Italy, in Spain, perhaps, he said, in France and elsewhere. Macron has a huge task persuading the Dutch and German governments to back his debt-pooling project. But in Europe, well, the big ethical debate is not out on a limb. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, offered Italy what she called a heartfelt apology. She said too many EU member states were not there on time when Italy needed a helping hand at the very beginning. She's claiming the EU has now become the world's beating heart of solidarity, although saying it doesn't make it so. The multi-billion support package being voted on by MEPs for Europe's healthcare sector looks somewhat desperately unequal to the moment. The South won't forget how they've been treated again by their richer northern cousins, and the EU looks divided again, not just north and south, but between east and north too. It's going to take an amazing feat of leadership by a real leader, not a second-rate bureaucrat, to heal the EU project.